Hi everybody, this is Mr. Fitshace, or as many of you know me, Brian. I ended up going to my mother's house. I went behind the wall up in the room upstairs through the back of the closet in a hole. And I lived 28 years in that house, and I've never been in that passage. And there was some pretty cool stuff in there. I was only able to get out the newspapers. There was a bunch of doors. There was about 8 or 9 doors back there, with some of them had glass doorknobs and skeleton keyholes and stuff like that. But I couldn't get those out because obviously the back of the closet, the hole wasn't even big enough to barely get me out. I actually got kind of stuck on the way out. I had one leg in, one leg out, and I was hurting the next day. But anyway, being that was also over 100 degrees, it made it really difficult to try to pull stuff out of there. But I got a whole bunch of newspapers, and the newspapers are really cool because some of them have historical significance. Only problem is they're not fully intact. But pretty cool to look at anyway. And being that those have been behind the wall in the room that I used to live in is really crazy, because I never thought I'd be finding some cool stuff like that. But anyhow, yeah, I'll be filming these, and please enjoy. Before I go through the newspapers, I actually found a couple of things from a little kid named Michelle Wells. And it's a nice little drawing of a cabin, tree, sun, and it has her name on the back, Michelle Wells, 9 years old. Now I'm wondering how old she is now, because the paper is somewhat yellowed and really aged, and the color of this paper matches almost the color of the newspapers, which was from 1950s, a couple of them 1952, 1953, somewhere around there. I'm almost wondering if she was 9 years old around that time, then she must be a lot older now, of course, naturally. But I'd be curious to see if I could find her and tell her that I've got one of her pieces of artwork when she was 9 years old. The other non-newspaper item I have here is this receipt that I found, and you might have seen in the video, but it's from A&K Jewelers, which is right in Stoneham. I think it's still there. It's been there forever. But it looks like October 1958. So $55, credit $10, balance $45. It looks like they must have bought something, I'm assuming. And that's information for it. And I've been to A&K Jewelers. Like I said, they've been around for a while, downtown Stoneham. So I figured I'd start with the little newspaper scraps. So, interestingly, Xarix must have been really popular. I remember drinking that stuff. The stuff was awful. It was just like liquid syrup, and apparently they had a big advertisement in the newspapers. They must have been doing really well. And you rarely see Xarix anymore. I think they still have it in the stores. But, yeah. People making full gallons of that stuff. Ugh. It's almost as bad as those little hugs, or those little tiny plastic bottles with the foil covers. Pure sugar water. Nasty stuff. And some type of furniture store. And boxing match. Jesse Turner. Flash. Those funny names, like in Bugs Bunny. Ravish and Rano, stuff like that. So I'm assuming the 50s were the times when a lot of guys wore sports suits and stuff like that, or suits in general. And because a lot of these newspapers have all these different ads for suits and suit shirts and stuff like that. And probably needed one of those for your job, I'm sure. And most of the guys did. But they must have been really expensive, because the prices I'm seeing on these seem high for back then. I could be totally wrong, but you'll see what I mean in a moment when I pull up one of the ads. And this one refers to someone who was a United States Olympic diving star, or a former Zoanne. I can't see the rest of it, but apparently they must have had a baby. See? Baby. Oh, okay, so this one, you can actually see it's from May 21st, 1953. So, I guess some of the newspapers were different years. I'm assuming that other one that said 1943, I think it was referring to the newspaper it was on. But anyhow, as you can see, more suits. So they're really pushing the whole suit thing back then. Of course, I'm not going to go over every article, but I'll just kind of scan over them so people can kind of see what I found. And since nobody had the internet back then, everyone depended on the encyclopedia, the book of knowledge. Man, I remember having a whole shelf full of those types of books. I bet these ones were huge. Wonder if they had any of these advertisements on TV for the books of knowledge. Remember that annoying kid from the 80s with the glasses trying to push Encyclopedia Britannica? Now this is interesting. Czechs call on U.S. to lift curbs. Now Otis is free. I'm not very good at history, so not quite sure what's up with that, but it does mention Eisenhower. So it looks like somebody escaped from looks like a military prison. So that's kind of interesting. Wonder if they ever caught the guy. And apparently they did post as much bad news as these days. Oh, yeah, and of course, smoking ads. That's before, I think it's before people really knew how bad smoking was for you. Now you don't have to choose between a filter cigarette and a good smoke. You get both with Du Maurier. Never even heard of Du Maurier. Apparently they lost the cigarette war. That's kind of a silly advertisement. Artwork kind of reminds me of something from Fallout 4. I'm sure that gambling and horse racing was very popular back then. Well, that's a pretty cool name for a horse, especially back then. Dark Star. That's actually a movie. Actually, I think John Carpenter made Dark Star. I mean, not the horse, of course. Ooh, fabulous roast beef. I don't think you'd see it worded like that these days. In the rib room. That sounds exciting. TWA. My cousins would probably like that. Oh, this is pretty cool. Eleanor Roosevelt stopped for 3 hours last night en route to Japan. That's some pretty cool stuff. And the Boston Evening Globe. I don't recall them calling that the Evening Globe anymore. Figures the date's cut off on this one. I think this one's 1953. 5 cents. Man. Price of the Globe has definitely skyrocketed since the 50s. I'm sure that's how it was delivered too, right there. Some kid running down the street, throwing newspapers, or riding his bike. Pusey. This is actually pretty cool too. First red pilot to escape tells about communist life. That's awesome. America's $50,000 offer for MiGs won't be accepted by airmen. I wish the whole article was here. Darn it. That's still pretty cool though. Just seeing that title right here. Look at that, you can get a brand new Buick sedan for $2,285.88. That's a deal. That's awesome. I read it right. Must have been a really good deal back then if they were gonna say that. Child labor law cited on summer work. Sounds like businessmen were trying to use children for their businesses and not paying them enough. That's not surprising. Women's Society. Ukrainian martyrs. Oh. Huh, that's pretty cool. That's definitely the lowest price ever. For a car battery? Awesome. Car radio, $49.88. You know, strangely enough, I don't think the prices are that off for radios. Although I haven't bought a radio recently. I'm sure it's probably double or triple that. Oh my god, a muffler. $5.44. That's awesome. Oh my god, that looks like my bench seat from my Chevy Nova. My friends would recognize that plaid. Orange, black, and white. I'm betting that might be... Probably not, that's probably like black and white. But my 76 Chevy Nova had plaid seats almost like that. They're orange, black, and white. Installed. Free of extra cost. Plastic seat covers, I'm assuming. Saran woven plastic. That's crazy. 29 cents for spark plugs. Man. This page here isn't too exciting. White House. Actually, I think these fishing rods right here are collector's items now. The bamboo ones. As bright as wax. Oh man, I want my car to shine like that. Actually looks like radiation. It's like an atomic car. How come we haven't heard of that these days? I bet it's because Turtle Wax or Armor all blew them away. Natural chalking. They're doing this to scare you. Burning sun. Traffic film. Rain, snow, and sleet. You can't get away from that. Exhaust gases, fumes, and air. Salt, air, and dew. Road maintenance chemicals. Your car is in danger. You need 7-8. Well, for those of you watching this video, if you want to learn something, here's how to golf. I hope you're taking that in. Okay. So, you're welcome for that. Hope you learned a lot. Got it? Don't want too much swing. Ooh, this Saturday. Jalopy racing. Cool. At the Medford Bowl. $1.20. Good deal. Or horse racing. People must have loved horse racing back then. From the old cartoons used to refer to horse racing a lot too. Sure, people loved their whiskey around that time. You know, so you can be social and have a friend for a drink. And cocktails before dinner, and tall ones after. All evening long. Seriously, did people have to say stuff like this and capitalize it in the newspaper? Not cool. I'm on a sturdy table. Look at that thing. That looks sturdy. I mean, look at those chairs. The comfort that provides, amazing. With shiny legs. Yeah, that's more radiation. The thing that cracks me up about these old advertisements is they have to emphasize shine by showing those marks. And seriously, they don't really need to do that. I suppose since they didn't have colored pictures in here, they're doing that. But it's pretty funny. That's like the car that was shiny because of the coating on it. It looked like it was glowing with like nuclear radiation. But yeah, it's crazy. I guess that's one of the ways they had to really emphasize shine or sparkle. Hey, it's Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum. Yeesh. Hope the gum doesn't make you look like that. Person doesn't really look very happy. Sort of happy. Sort of happy doing pleasant chewing. Makes my work go faster. Oh my god, I need some of that Wrigley's. Anything to make my work go faster. And smoother and easier. Oh man. I didn't know Wrigley's could do so much. Wait a second here. You can chew Wrigley's Spearmint as long as you want with both hands free for working. Does that mean that other gums you had to use your hands? You gotta be sure you're getting the original, you know, because there's a lot of knockoffs of Wrigley's. That's a riot. More suit jackets. Or sports coats, actually. $26.90. I honestly don't know how much a sports coat or suit these days is. If it was $26.90 in 1953, then right now it's gotta be ridiculous. Plaid. Or it looks like plaid. And they must have had early bird sales, although I can't really see it. Finally, charge account. This is weird. It's like all these prices are $2. What's this, like a $2 store? That's so strange. Yeah, my wife would like this. She makes fun of me when I say swim trunks. And there it is, from the 50s. Swim trunks. I wonder why she's making fun of me. I don't know if anyone says swim trunks anymore, except for me. It's kind of interesting how many whiskey ads were in this newspaper. Because if I'm not mistaken, you don't see very many whiskey ads nowadays in the Boston Globe. Interestingly enough, they paired up this humongous, almost full-page whiskey ad with a sports section. Unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot about sports because I'm not much of a sports fan. But for you sports fans, here are the Red Sox averages. I also put a snapshot in this video too if you want to look at it. Ladies' Day. Wonder what that means. Ladies getting free? Oh, this must be horse racing on this side. I wasn't even really reading it and I just suddenly realized it. Oh man. A bunch of little flies came out of this paper. Now this is more my stuff. Lawn and garden. Lawn trimmer. Jeez, that thing looks dangerous. Huh. I remember trying to push one of those. You want a workout? You get one of these lawnmowers. A power mower is basically one of these mowers with a motor attached to the top. That's freaking funny. Oh man. Oh my god, that thing looks like a monster. It's like something from a horror movie. He's got freaking teeth on it. Wow. Wow. That's a pretty good oil change price. Guy looks happy doing his job. He's not poking any holes in your muffler. Wow, look at those gas prices. Yeah, I like that page. Especially that mower. Dun, dun, dun. So here, we finally have an actual date. May 21st, 1953. And I'll just read the titles and then slowly bring the camera down. So some carry Chinese troops. British firm says Reds using their stolen ships. I don't know if you can really read that. Especially with that big rip. But definitely a big piece of history in this one here. And the Reds accuse U.S. Air Force of drowning 800. And that's awful. Jeez. I wonder if it was true. Yipes. Flooding 70 North Korean villages. It's terrible. And ROK troops toss 200 Reds off disputed hill. After 6 hours of fighting, the Reds called it quits. Wow. Some really crazy stuff. Stalin. I find interesting about this Uncle F's old-fashioned hayloft jamboree, or $2 jamboree, is that it reminds me of Building 19. That's where it's almost like the artist, or possibly a relative of the artist, made these designs. Just looks very much like it, especially that way that was drawn. Straw hats. I don't know if I'd want to wear one of those. This ad's right. Mrs. America, not Miss America, says beacon wax is best. Now, seriously, she has got to have the strongest wrists. Look at the way she's holding that huge can of rubbing wax. Well, I can't tell if she's happy or if she's cringing because she's struggling just to hold that up for the photo. Of course, they apparently didn't have Photoshop because you get a real face. I'm assuming that's your hand from another picture. And then they drew beacon wax in there. That was Miss America. And they stuck her an ad. I wonder if she really wanted to be in that advertisement. Judging by the look on her face, I can't tell if she's happy or if she's angry. But she's got strong wrists though. Look at her holding that container. What a trooper. Second advertisement for Sturdy I've come across. Look at those chairs. The chairs are awesome. That's like the Cadillac of kitchen chairs. Wow, that's awesome. Rubber seats. Not even leather? It's got triple chrome though. That's cool. And again, the crazy flashy little drawings are on the edges just to show how amazing their product is. Sears apparently had a lot of stuff in the Boston Globe. I'm sure we've all seen a picture of a guy that looked like this. Instead of a pad and paper, he'd be smoking a pipe or something like that. That's very typical of the artwork back then. And get one of those dangerous swing sets, you know, the ones that you swing back and forth really high and then the whole thing flips over. And then when you get older, you and your friends are doing foolish things on them, and the chains are breaking. I remember those. And again, we got another sports page here. As I said before, I'm not much of a sports fan, but this is pretty interesting. The Red Sox buying bonds. It's a pretty cool picture. Now I'll just let you guys look through this if you're interested. And if I can get it in frame. Oh, there we go. or horse racing. It's pretty funny how these articles make it look like you're not cool if you don't ask for overlands, please. You know, because if you say that, you know good cigars. And you look like him. Creepy. Ugh. This is as bad as cigarettes. Alright. I think I'm gonna take Jill here. Look at that deal. I'll have to get a babysitter. And I can get boiled live lobster or lobster salad. That's awesome. Ha! There are the quality pants I saw in the passageway. That's interesting. You get the pants with feet, no torso. It's kind of creepy looking. With the quality pants. Oh, yeah. This is another thing I would have taken Jill to if it still existed. I'm sure it's probably dangerous. With the lobster on the flaming sword. That is awesome. Man. Wonder if they still do that. I don't even know what place this is. I can't even see the name of the restaurant. Wow. Good times. Yeah, is that blood dripping down there? What is that? Oh, I think it's bacon. Yeah, it's bacon. Bacon around whatever the heck those white things are. I'm assuming that's probably the lobster in there. Cook is very daring. Must have been a dangerous job. That's why I don't have the flaming sword anymore. So this here is the one thing that really caught my eye. We had Ike to meet with allies. And it says June parlay on peace excludes Russia. That's pretty cool. Like when they used to put those big titles specifying war. And that's the one thing that I think is just really awesome. I mean, there's some other awesome stuff in there too. But it's just so cool that there's that big title. Obviously, stress and importance. Very cool. It's funny, I saw this part facing up in the dark, and then my flashlight hit it, and I was like, oh my god! Well, this is the back of the last page I have to show. And I hope you enjoyed all the clips I showed, and all my videos about the house I grew up in. That's going to be the last time I'm really able to film anything from that house. And I was glad I finally was able to do it. And also find these really cool old newspapers. So, definitely going to miss that house. It had lots of memories. And being that I grew up there the first 28 years of my life, the place meant a lot to me. Also, I'm sure it meant a lot to my nephews and my mother, my father, brother and sister. And of course all the friends we had over. I had a ton of friends over that house. And we had a lot of fun there. Between playing hide and go seek, playing video games, having movie nights, and of course a bunch of family stuff, and holidays and stuff like that. But this is the farewell to the old house I grew up in, and I'm gonna miss it dearly.